Do not watch the video, read the Rolling Stone or the Curbed.com article on the subject. That's where I'm getting some of the information from each. I'm going to be interjecting my opinion here, but it isn't about me, and it's not about you, and it's not about something you read on the internet or worse, saw on TikTok or Twitter. It's a religious group having problems where they're infighting because butter side down. No, I don't care if you like that answer, and yes, acknowledgement to YouTube and every other overarching villain we can come up with. It's a protected group. Speaking about a protected group, we have to walk on eggshells. No, this isn't some evil cabal yada yada. We are not, as a general population, allowed to talk about any group that has gone through literal attempts to destroy every one of them, namely Hitler. And that's not the only group Hitler went after, but that's the major one that we can easily recognize unless you're desperate to not pay attention to it. And you have to make up some crazy world universe where groups of people aren't persecuted to the point of extinction. If you need to believe that reality didn't happen, I can't negotiate any reality with you. I live in reality, okay? So we've gotten that out of the way. Just because a group of people is a protected group doesn't mean they're free from critique. I'm an atheist. What I do, very rarely by the way anymore, is criticize religion in general. Yada, 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 bullshit, yada, yada, I talk about stuff, whatever. Who cares? If you want to believe something, as long as you're not interfering with anybody else's life, you're fine. Digging under a road and possibly caving it in during wintertime because you're having a hissy fit with another group trying to control a street address somewhere in Brooklyn. Really? Can't pronounce it correctly. I'm not going to try. Let's get on with this. Chabad Lubavitch Community Synagogue, Brooklyn Crown Heights headquarters at 770 Eastern Parkway, is the former home of a rabbi, Menachem Mendel Schneerson. It's a religious leader who died in 1994, but is revered as Rebbe and or the Messiah by a splinter extremist group that are student people involved in the Lubavitcher, I can't pronounce it, group, but they're a Masonic sect. They're a sect that believes in a Messiah, a new Messiah. Most religions have a Messiah mythology, either fulfilled, as in Christianity, or not fulfilled because they choose to reboot something that happened literally 2,000 years ago. Almost, in fact, if you were to look up the history books, we're approaching the actual end of the Messiah happening originally. It's a group of Hasidic Jews who have decided to be very uncompromising about this, I'm going to say, stupid point of contention. That's why I'm using the explanation for butter side down. Anyway, this group of more extreme individuals who believe there was a Messiah at the address decided to get busy doing some busy work, basically, and dig a tunnel about a half block long from an empty building or to an empty building to expand or dig into or gain access to the location at 770 Eastern Parkway. It's treated as a holy ground for Hasidism in Brooklyn. So much so that the building itself is duplicated in other parts of the world because it's treated as a holy place by some people because, again, they believe that one of the people who lived there is the Messiah. And even though this person died in 1994, they have decided that this person cannot have died because then that would prove that he wasn't a Messiah or something. They were expanding the Messiah's building or providing them full access because it was restricted because they were part of a splinter group that wasn't welcome there for their attitude. This is after winning control of the building away from any argument of ownership a decade ago. They lost 10 years ago, and this is their way of getting back in. These are students ostensibly studying at the location because it's holy ground, because they believe the Messiah happened. This is not oversimplifying anything. It is batshit crazy. Wapcheck, no, I'm not criticizing Judaism or the country and sovereign nation of Israel, nor am I commenting on any other detail. This is a butter side down argument that is causing both groups to fight over a building. What would I do if I were king? Let's say I was made king. Let's talk about this. I would order them all manually to go in and dismantle the building. Take it down to the ground and turn it into a park. Take away its significance because it's tearing them apart, and tell them to each build a separate building on opposite ends of the country or opposite ends of the block, I don't care, somewhere else, and build them for their own purposes and have their separate locations where they can't be in conflict, and declare the location truly to be considered a holy location and make it a location where none may build. Am I quoting a piece of history to solve an argument and end a war that united a group? Or is it literally a duplicate of about 60 mythologies with the same subject? If you're fighting over a single resource and you end up tearing each other apart, neither of you should have access to it. This is a building that's considered a place of holiness, or maybe it should be added to some registry. Like a ridiculous number of locations on another continent where people are arguing over it and are chronically escalating. And no, it has nothing to do in that case with Jews at all either. I'm talking about every single time this happens with any group of people making some chunk of dirt or some chunk of rock or some building or even a body of water more important than human life. Fuck that shit. But you're saying this from the standpoint of being an atheist. This is one of the reasons I am one. I see no productivity in this. I am chastising not a religion, not a country, not a subpopulation if you decide that you're going to use that for the meaning. Fix your definitions and stick with them, please, ladies and gentlemen. I am not defaming this protected group. I'm defaming everybody on the planet that pulls this shit. The exact tree where Newton had an apple fall on his head is not sacred. And if it was found, I would demand it be burned to the ground as a contrarian behavior. It is not important. The piece of time-space, this planet, nay, this entire solar system is spiraled through a long time ago, isn't important because it's a piece of dead space out there that could be occupied by anything from an asteroid, a comet, or nothing right now. That piece of time-space should be sacred because it's a place and time. No. We are in a shifting pile of sand, an hourglass. Every hunk of dirt you argue over, you engineer a chip on your shoulder to dare someone to flick off. It's a group of people having infighting because one group decided that a rabbi they knew and loved and who died in 1994 has to absolutely be a Messiah, and the other group says that's not acceptable. I've heard arguments like this before, sitting at a table with people on many subjects, including sitting at a table with Jewish people arguing over something. The argument stops when you can't control yourself and you become an animal, when you become a monster, when you become worse than your opponent. You must always hold dignity to yourself. And I'm almost directly quoting the head of a particular group in Portland, Oregon, and also another person I met personally. This is poison. Do not do this to yourself. And I'm not saying it to Jewish people or any particular group of people, not even religion. Everybody. I say the same preaching that I'm doing now to the Linux community. Yes, geeks talking about binary code, writing software, screeching at the top of their lungs to the point they're ready to strangle each other over how you license your software. It's not even idealism, it's just stupid. Is this a protected group? Yes. Will YouTube decide to flag the video? Knee-jerk reaction about something that is not criticism of the protected group. Of course they will. Because an automated AI bot should be your enemy, by the way, but is definitively proving itself to be. Don't let it drive your car. So let's get back to it. A group of people decided to do something, seemingly, as a stunt, tunneling into a place they felt maybe they didn't have power over. So as a power move, or as a way to simply have access, or whatever it is they're going to proclaim to the masses to try to get social media influencers on their side. You ain't getting me on either side here. It's a power play and an argument. Ultimately, they're going to accomplish what I would do if I were a king. They'll tear the building down because they'll keep harassing each other until it's destroyed. Inevitably. This is an example of what happens in anything. The GNU Public Licensing Agreement. The copyleft idealism. The anarchy projects people started. Hell, guerrilla gardening had infighting like this. There is no such thing as a group of people that's idealistic that doesn't drop down to the level of bludgeoning each other in the street with whatever's handy eventually. Somebody who was revered as a messiah had teachings that align with this? No? Then you're doing a disservice to this person's memory. If any of you in this community wish to comment below, you are not permitted to scream anti-Semite. I'm not. I'm anti every belief system when it goes off the rails. You can be anything you want to. I have a major problem with Messiah ideas because they're always going to cause this. It's the biggest danger on earth. When you vilify some other group, that's terrible. But when you exemplify some group by a single individual and declare them above reproach and no criticism is permitted, which I'm pretty sure that the person you're idealizing here would slap you for saying. You know, like with Trump actually asking you not to criticize him. That's a sign of the Satan that you're trying to fight. Or anybody saying you can't criticize Kamala Harris or Hillary Clinton, let's make it really crazy. Or, God help us, trying to keep me from ever criticizing Al Gore. There are no heroes. There are no gods in our making. We do not create our messiahs in the rational world because it's a very big trap and it's stupid. So, we have a group of people here who have declared a chunk of Brooklyn to be a sacred location and somebody be the messiah, and they wish to be taken seriously by anybody outside of the group. Doesn't matter what your group is when you do that. No one should take you seriously. This is bullshit. It always ends in destruction. Why would you do this? The location is treated essentially as a holy place already. No one seems to want to argue that. That's fine. I have no reason to argue it. And now you've turned it into a point of contention. Kicking against the pricks. Please look up what that is before you comment below. Two different factions, the Messianic Lubavitchers and Agudath Chasidei Chabad, have tried to claim ownership of the building and the entire movement. One group won a legal battle over ownership of the headquarters a decade ago. It continues to be contested territory, which will result in the other group being heavily disciplined into accepting their defeat. Or they shouldn't have done this at all and decided this is almost like somebody's creating this so that they'll divide us against ourselves. A house divided will fall. Don't fight in a burning house. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. Feel free to flag this inappropriately. I'm sure all of you will. Right?